off the hook. Let's go to Oakland. Let's go to the town with Jay, who wants to talk Brock. What's up, Jay? You're on the roast.
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
Good.
Good. Pump the brakes, pump the brakes, pump the brakes. 49er fans, please pump the brakes. I understand, I'm all for optimism, but I think we got to be cautious optimists. Brock Purdy is likely to fall off a cliff as far as his production. And I'm just going to call it how it is. And the reason I say that is, one, look who's involved. Kyle Shanahan. I mean, do we really trust this to go any other direction than for this to go straight down the toilet? I'm going to throw a couple names out at you guys. Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston, Jared Goff, Johnny Manziel, Mac Jones, Kyler Murray. All of these quarterbacks had their flash-in-the-pan moment where they looked great at one point in time and their production just dropped precipitously. Now, I would even throw Deshaun Watson in there. But Houston Texans' Deshaun Watson was great. Do we really think that Brock Purdy is a better quarterback than Houston Texans' Deshaun Watson? Look what he looks like now in the Cleveland Browns.
Who's your team? Let me ask you this. Who's your team? Who's your favorite team?
My team?
Yeah, who's your team?
My favorite team is the Las Vegas Raiders, to be honest with you.
I thought so. I thought. No, you sound very much like a Raider fan. You definitely sound like a Raider fan. I'll say this: I like the Raider young quarterback, the kid from Purdue.
Yeah.
I think he looks really good. I would be. Here's my prediction on the Raiders: that kid's going to take over for Jimmy G at some point this year.
Right. Well, look, Jimmy G could be in the XFL, the CFL, Arena Football League, and he's going to find himself a quarterback controversy. It doesn't matter where. He finds a way to find it. And look, I like what I'm seeing from the kid. We'll see what happens with Jimmy G. There's a lot of belief with Jimmy G, and he's out of that weird situation in San Francisco or Santa Clara. 95.7 The Game, thousands of other stations, and millions of podcasts are free on the Odyssey app. Sports talk, music, news, and podcast are all available completely free. You can catch every Warriors game live on the Bay Area app all along with music, news, and Bay Area needs. Follow your favorite teams, stations, radio shows, and podcasts now by downloading the free Odyssey app. As we are a little bit more than 30 minutes away from Joe Montana. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the Raiders. They're still in a tough division. I don't know what's going on with the Chargers, right? I mean, they have Herbert and the Broncos as well, but I do think that the Raiders will be better. They will be better. They've got a good regime. Yeah.
They got the New England double, combo. I thought they had a really good offseason. I wanted to draft Michael Mayer last night, the tight end, but somebody got to him in the last round.
I saw that.
Before I could get there. But I like the Raiders. I think the Raiders, they signed Jacobs. They've got some weapons, Devontae, Mayer, Jacobs. It's all going to be about their O-line and their D. They got a great defensive front. You got Chandler Jones and Max 2X's Crosby coming off the edges.
Yeah.
It's really just about the back seven for the Raiders. Are they good enough on D? Do they have a good enough offensive line? I don't think so. I think Jimmy's going to get hurt again. But I think the Raiders are on the right path.
Well, and it was incredible how you just sniffed it out.
Oh, I just knew.
You just knew.
I knew.
You just knew. And, I honestly hoped it was a Niner fan, because I do think in 888-957-9570, there are question marks. Do you believe in Kyle Shanahan? Do you believe in Brock Purdy? Do you need to see more from Brock Purdy? Be a part of the conversation, because I do think that there are Niner fans that feel the same way he does, but since he's a Raider fan, we can't really count it.
Exactly. And all these quarterbacks, because there have been quarterbacks that got off to hot starts and petered out, now Brock Purdy's got to be that guy.
Well,
if you ask, I mean, first of all, I get a chance to talk to a lot of these guys. Players are never going to bash their quarterback, right? So it's not about, hey, they said positive things about Brock. Of course, what do you expect them to say? But it's the conviction that guys like Ayuk and Debo and Kittle and McCaffrey and the way, even guys on defense, Juwan Jennings called him a Brock star the other day.
Yep.
There's just a lot of belief that Purdy's pretty solid. The other thing, you got to remember is look where he played. He played at Iowa State.
Right.
They were garbage before he got there. When he was there, he led them to an incredible season or two. They went to the Fiesta Bowl. Guess what they did the first year he wasn't there? They went 1-8 in the conference. So I personally think that Brock is not going to be a flash in the pan. But you know what? Time's going to tell, right? We're going to find out.
Here's my thing, and this might come off as disrespect to Brock, and it shouldn't because it's the reality of the situation. But I would just say it's incredibly hard for somebody to fall off a cliff with Kyle Shanahan and those weapons. And I know that there has been a drop-off. There is a drop-off between Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy. I won't deny that. But I also think that if Sam actually played, we'd see the best version of Sam. I don't know that it would be as good as Brock. So I understand that there's a difference between Sam and Brock, but I also feel that you can't deny the weapons that they have and having Kyle Shanahan. Somebody's got to execute, and Brock does one of the best jobs that we've seen of executing Kyle Shanahan's offense. But I would not bet on Brock Purdy being now the question becomes, what is falling off a cliff? Is falling off a cliff not playing as well as he played last season? I don't know. But the idea that Brock is going to, I don't even know what that looks like, Larry. What does that even look like besides getting hurt? I
mean, turnovers, losses, just a regression, regression of arm strength, regression of accuracy. I'll say this from being at practice every day. I don't see a difference in arm strength. Mm-hmm. If I've talked to Willie Snead played with Drew Brees. He says he reminds him of Drew Brees.
Yeah.
I've interviewed Russell Wilson. I've interviewed Tom Brady. I've interviewed Drew Brees. And a lot of the same characteristics that those guys had, and I'm not talking about physical characteristics, I'm just talking about mental, Brock Purdy has. Very, very confident, very, very humble. The kind of the aw shucks, kind of a thing.
Not on the field though,
but on the field, just like a killer.
Yeah,
just a killer. Just incredible intellect, mental maturity. Russell had it. Breeze had it. Brady had it. This chip on your shoulder that's just, I call it boulder shoulder, where you're walking around and you just got this perennial chip because people have counted you out.
Yeah.
The Brady 7 or whatever it was, that whole show, that was all because Brady, basically knows every single quarterback that was drafted in front of him. Brock is a little different in that he's a religious guy. His faith is what balances him. So he doesn't get too up, too down. But this guy's tough, man. This guy's tough. And he's now shrinking violet. He's not, Ray McLeod told me, man, last year I was saying something, I was in the huddle, and he just got in my grill and, told me off in front of everybody. And he's like, I said, how'd that make you feel? And he's like, well, I didn't like it at the moment, but it told me a lot about, the toughness and the fire of Brock Purdy. So, I think you need a little bit of that. You can't be too nice. You can't be too nice. You sometimes have to get in there and yell at guys. I mean, you saw Brady, the way he would yell at receivers, yell at his linemen. And that Russell Wilson does the same thing. I mean, those kinds of characteristics are vital.
Yeah, they're definitely vital. And again, will they win the Super Bowl? Will the Niners win the Super Bowl? I have no clue. But the idea that Brock could look bad, I honestly just don't know what that looks like. I mean, going through that second preseason game, the first one he played, and I joked about it being the Debo drive because Debo did do his thing. And I like to joke because it gets people riled up. But the one throw to me that stuck out was the one where he wanted the short route, wasn't there, and he just, again, doesn't panic at all, just hits Juwan Jennings right where he needs to be. Those are the types of things, Larry. And look, I'm not comparing him to Steph Curry, right? I'm not. But when Steph shoots a three, it looks pretty easy. It looks like anybody can shoot a three. And in a lot of situations where you see guys that do things that make it look easy, you feel like any Joe Schmo, you on the couch, you could do it too. And I would say that Brock, to be honest, suffers a little bit from that. And people, even like myself, have sat there and said, I mean, look at this offense. Look at these weapons. And not to say that's not true, but Brock makes it look easier. I'm trying to think the only comp we have, Larry, to be fully fair, the only comp we have is Jimmy. And thinking Jimmy last season after McCaffrey, for those games where he had McCaffrey and he was rolling. That's the only comp we have. So I'm thinking how it looked with Jimmy and how it looked with Brock Purdy. And even though numbers wise, if you actually look at the numbers, they weren't astronomically different, but it's just the way things looked, to your point, when plays broke down. So that's why I would say Brock makes things look easy, and then in turn, it almost turns into it being a detriment to what he does, because everybody sees it and thinks, I mean, who else could we get? And now we're probably not going to see Sam with the ones at all, so that'll still be something that people can hold on to. But now you would say, I mean, when Sam gets in there, same scheme, no, not the same skill guys, but it doesn't really look easy, does it? Not to me.